Welcome to Shattered, the podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss mental illness, its by a sufferer, for sufferers, and for the people that are looking to understand what it's like to live with mental illness. G'day and welcome to Shattered, the podcast for another week. This week we're going to talk about discrimination. Now, looking at me, as you can tell, I'm very, very white. My heritage is Irish, you can tell through my last name. But the question I have to ask myself first, because I know you're going to ask it as well, is what the hell do I know about discrimination? A white Anglo-Irish person who is not terribly British. I'm not a fan of the British. I know that in Australia, most white people are put together and just called British. To many Irishmen, we find that offensive, particularly when we know a lot about Irish history. But the fact of the matter is that a white man growing up in Australia cannot know much or anything about discrimination unless certain circumstances come about. Now, let's talk discrimination for just a moment, because I truly did not understand what people of colour had, why it was such a big deal when they faced discrimination. And it wasn't until I met a truly, truly racist white person that I understood. And this woman she was offensive as all get out. She was calling people monkeys. She was using the N-word. Anybody that had anything negative, it was all about their culture, their race, who they were. I found it disgusting. And I was in a workplace and I couldn't just tell her to shut the hell up. Thankfully, I was by myself. If I had been with other people, perhaps I might have acted differently. But honestly, I was just so shocked. I was almost stunned. It was really quite amazing. I'd never experienced a true racist speaking so freely and openly and spilling their bile in such a way as that you could almost taste it. And it was only after that experience that I thought, okay, I can see why people of colour are so sensitive. Now, this woman was an aberration. I've been alive for half a century and I've met one truly racist person, and that was this woman. I have never met anybody that hates a certain race, colour or creed quite simply because of their race, colour or creed. Now, I grew up in a very, very interesting circumstance in that my family history was that we were very poor. My father tells the story that he grew up so poor in far north Queensland that he ate mangoes till he was sick every mango season because they were so hungry and they were so keen to just eat something. And mangoes grow openly in far north Queensland, so they would gorge themselves during mango season to the point that it took him a good 25 years, I believe, before he would eat a mango, because it just he'd eaten them till he was sick. And his mother was a poor woman, a widow with 5 kids, one of which was special needs, and they grew up basically dirt poor. And my dad actually recently told me something interesting, because I was talking about this discrimination thing. And in my family, in my immediate family with my mum and dad, we never discriminated against anybody. Our house, our table for people coming over for dinner from church, from work, whatever, there was no colour, creed, race, religion. There was no limitation on the people that mum and dad would have over. If they were nice people, mum and dad would get them over. And I grew up I don't want to say colorblind because that's such a stupid expression. Do we see color? Don't we see color? I don't know, but I do know that I grew up in a multicultural society with no one culture being preeminent or better or inherently more blessed or gifted. I grew up in a house where people were people and we judged people by the individual. So fast forward many, many years till I meet this racist woman, and I'm stunned, I'm shocked, and I wish I had had the foresight to react more vehemently. I was very, very fortunate in that another customer came into the shop and I was able to ghost this racist woman. We'd done the work that I needed to do, and she was a French woman, and I just said, merci beaucoup, bonne chance. Thank you very much. Have a great day. And for all the French people out there, I apologize for my accent. But it was enough for her to just leave. And thank God that she did, because the person that came into the shop was a person of color. And again, I don't know how I would have reacted. And that's, I don't know, maybe that's racist. I guess some people would say that's racist, that I wouldn't immediately get on my how dare you high horse. But racism, discrimination in that way is so blatant that it was, I was left speechless. I didn't know what to do. Thankfully, ghosted her, she left. Now, for many years, I worked with people with disabilities, and there were individual people that had issues with my clients. I remember in a McDonald's once, I was with a young autistic girl who we had to keep a close eye on her because we knew that the second we took our eyes off her, she would run and grab some chips off somebody's table. She wouldn't hurt anybody, but she'd make a grunting noise, and people were quite upset by that, and I can understand. And a co-worker that I was with was really laid into a couple whose privacy had been invaded by this little grunting person, stolen some food off their table, knocked some on the floor. And my co-worker was, how dare you be so discriminatory towards this person with a disability? And they weren't. They weren't. They were angry because somebody had jumped on their table and stolen their food. I don't think, again, that I ever came up against real, honest discrimination. I hate that person with a disability. I am disgusted by them, and I will not either allow them to partake in a normal lifestyle, like going into McDonald's. It's a God-given right. Everybody deserves to go in there. Everybody should have the opportunity to go in there if they want. But I don't know that I ever met anybody that was truly disgusted by people with disability. And that maybe that's because I didn't see it. I don't know. For me, working with people with disabilities was not exceptional. I was not, people would say, oh, you're so special. And you just go, it's just a job. It's just what I do. So fair to say, in my 50 years on this earth, half a century on this earth, sorry, Dad, if that makes you feel old. On my 50 years on this earth, I've never really seen discrimination. I've never understood it. I've never been the victim of it. And I've never really paid it much mind. In fact, if anything, I've probably wondered what people of colour are getting so excited about. The football player in the AFL, the Australian Football League, who a young girl called him a monkey and he freaked out, and the security came and they took her out. They handled it very, very poorly. I honestly wondered what his problem was. I really did. And I don't know whether I should be ashamed for that or whether he was being brave and taking a stand. Maybe that was one too many. I don't know. I don't know. And truly, I can never really understand that man and where he was. I can honestly, though, say with all conviction that I truly hope that he doesn't feel discriminated against, because I learned what it was to face discrimination when I couldn't wear a face mask. At the time, and I shared this, you can look at the audio podcasts from recent times, I shared when I was very, very emotional about this subject, when it was really, really hard and I was really, really hurt and burned by what was going on. And again, never having been a standout person, never being a person that is in any way different from the people around me. Probably the only time this ever happened that I was in a place where I was the whitest white person in the world. I was in a school in America called Booker T. Washington, and it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was visiting the school as an exchange student, and I was speaking in various schools, but they gave me a school map and they charted out a course, and they said, you need to go up here, then here, then here. And I noticed that there was a corridor going across here. So I was supposed to go here, here, here. But if I went up here and just went straight through there, I would go directly to where I needed to be. And I just took the shortcut. Now, the thing was, the more and more distance I got along this path, the further I went down this corridor, I realized that I was the only white person. Everybody else was African American or Hispanic, and it was predominantly African American. And the further and further I got, the more looks I was getting and the more hostility which I was seeing. I didn't see this as discrimination. I just saw this as, I am really in trouble and these people are not happy that I'm here. So what did I do? I went full on Australian. I went kangaroo, Crocodile Dundee, Ocker, Dinky Die, Aussie. G'day fellas, how's it going? And a friend of mine saw me, a friend called JJ, and he just came and grabbed me and said, guys, he's all right, he's from Australia. And then I was the toast of the town. Again, I saw that as being funny rather than bad. But if you truly want to understand what it's like to face discrimination, go out in the middle of a lockdown without a mask. And this is the point that I'm getting to here. Why I found this so hard is on the first day, somebody came up with a camera, stuck it in my face, said, why aren't you wearing a mask? And I was confronted, and I was angry, really angry. And he said, I'm going to post this on the Facebooks or something. And I said, I really hope you do, because I've got a government approved exemption from wearing a mask, and I will sue you. And he backed down. He was like, oh, you've got to. But it didn't stop there. You would walk into a place and everybody would look at you. My wife and I were stopped in a supermarket, and the young girl that was there, I don't believe she had anything against me, but there'd been an incident earlier in the day where an undercover cop apparently had to escort somebody out of the shop because they just didn't want to wear a mask. Well, I was in a very different circumstance. I had a exemption, a legal reason that I couldn't wear a mask, and to refuse me service was considered discrimination. Well, the young girl didn't understand that. She just thought she was going to get in trouble. Manager came over, said the same thing. You have to wear a mask. I pulled out the legislation. If you have an exemption, you don't have to present. You don't have to wear a mask. And they were really worried about their jobs. They were worried about the store being fined. But again, it was confronting and it was hurtful. And again, I never really felt discriminated against because of my mental health. Until I realized that people were treating me in stores the way that people treated me when they found out that I had complex PTSD, a severe mental illness. You're not told that you're less than, but people just assume that you can't handle things. People assume that you're weak. And I won't come out and say it. But if I have to take a mental health day from work, I have to explain the history of my mental illness. I can't just say, dude, I need to take a mental health day. My workplace has to know my entire history. They have to know that this is a rare occurrence. They have to know that it doesn't happen often. And I can't just say I need a mental health day. And a doctor can't just say, Mark needs a mental health day, because work is going to say, why? And you can understand any employer, if you take a sick day, why are you taking a sick day? I'm having a mental health day. Oh, but I saw you out in the park. Well, one of the things I do for my mental health is go sit in the sunshine in a park. Was I partying? Was there people around? Was I doing something naughty? No, but you weren't home, you weren't in bed, so obviously you're not sick. Another time that I faced it was when I was changing medications, which is a massive deal. When you change medication, it's not like I'm going to stop taking aspirin and I'm going to start taking paracetamol. It is a quantum shift. It is a tsunami of influences inside your mind that are competing for normalcy. And it can take weeks and months to adapt to a new medication. But you can't just call work and say, hey, I have to go through this medication change, so I'm going to be a bit up and down over the next couple of weeks. I mean, why should I have to explain that? But then, doesn't my employer have the right to be able to ask that? It is a vexing question, and it's a question that our workplaces are going to have to come to terms with, particularly coming out of the lockdown, with many, many more people presenting with mental health issues. The last and final point that I want to make on this is that I jumped on a mental health Facebook support page. I don't reach out on the internet. It's a rule of mine. Never reply to comments on my personal posts. Don't reply to other people's posts. It's not worth it. But I took a chance this day. I thought somebody's got to understand. I posted, I said, I explained my experience. I explained that I have tried to wear masks. I've tried different masks. Initially, I carried a mask around with me everywhere. It was when I almost went into a full-blown panic attack in Coles that I realized that the face mask was hurting me. Again, it snuck up on me. I wasn't expecting it. I thought I could wear a mask, no problem at all. I couldn't. Tried different types, I couldn't do it. So I posted on this mental illness Facebook page, and the admin of the page slammed me. Just slammed me. Have you tried different masks? Have you tried wearing them at different times? You've got to understand that you are a risk and you need to find a way to wear a mask. When people in the mental health area are saying things like that, getting over it is not a treatment option. Saying to somebody, just move on, is not a treatment option. It's not helpful. It hurts because it makes me think like, oh, maybe I've got the issue. Maybe it is because I'm not strong enough. Strength, mental health, you can't equate them. One is not the other. One is neither of the other. That doesn't make any sense, but it's because you cannot compare strength and mental illness, because strength might be just showing up one day. I encourage you, try to find ways to be strong. Try to find ways to be caring, to understand. If somebody says, I've got to take a mental health day, ask for a medical certificate. But that's it. That's all you need to know. Can I offer any more support? Do you need any extra time off? Is there anything I can do? As soon as our society gets to that place, that's when I believe that discrimination will start to stop against people with mental illness. I truly hope that you have a good week. This has been a little depressing, but that's mental illness for you. Have a great week, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Shattered the podcast. I'd like to thank our producer, Meredith Brosnan, our executive producer, Torian Lau, and the band Adelaide for allowing us to use their song as our theme. Go to shatteredthepodcast.com for more information.